So, Charlie, we've had a little chat about the process so far, and we've agreed that it's been a learning experience. It's been a semi-painless learning experience. Uh, we're confident in doing this sort of thing going forward. We're happy with what we've got so far. So there's two. So I want to talk about the future and going forward over this Easter break and a couple of weeks I have before the lecture demo. First things first. I know you've expressed that you the main thing you want to do right now is create something original and devised, something that we write ourselves and create that as a machinima. And that's definitely a goal and something we want to do. But before we get onto that, let's quickly talk about the machinima we have right now.
Okay.
So we don't actually have a name for it. The poem we have is "The Night Where You No Longer Live" by Megan O'Rourke.
Right.
And we've sort of had a look through that poem, and we've picked out some stanzas that we think are quite provocative, and we thought this game could work here. And the games have been like Unravel, Last of Us, GTA 5. We went through this, but it's Grow Home, Portal 2, Fallout 4, Human Fall Flat, and Skyrim. And what we've got is good. It's sort of it's like a 3.5 minute film that transitions between each one, and there's nothing too fancy with the editing. Maybe in Last of Us where it sort of cuts between spores to fit in with the talk of virus in the poem, and it cuts between sort of like the calm spores and then the sort of very aggressive and highly charged sort of zombie attacks. We've got things that have sort of been quite nail on the head, where like, do you intend to come back, and it's him fall flat and he falls off the wall and goes back onto the world. We're going to add in a blackout in one bit where it says the word blackout, but we think it just works best. What we've got is I think it works quite well, and it's quite nice, visually at least anyway.
Yeah, it does.
And even just like we were worried about the sound and the idea that transitioning from the sort of the calm tones of Unravel to the quite stark sounds of Last of Us or something else, it could be a bit problematic, but in retrospect it actually works quite well. It works quite nicely, but that's not to say we're not interested in the use of sound and film score potentially in the piece. So thinking about the machinima as it is right now, what changes do you think need to be made or that you want to make?
Well, yeah, it just comes. I have to look through it again, obviously, but we just need to add in that blackout, and then.
You want to edit Skyrim so there's no head jolting.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, I think it just comes down to sound now. And we find something, we can find a piece that works, and then go through it with that, and then we can add in what other sound we want from the video itself, when and where we like it, really. Because I like the idea of having the sound from Last of Us, because it's supposed to be pretty jarring.
Yeah.
That bit, it's really short clips.
And it's nice to have that sort of
meaning to surprise you.
It's nice to have a juxtaposition, that sort of quick switch between the sort of the calming tones of Unravel and the stark tones of The Last of Us.
Yeah. Otherwise, people will start yawning.
Yeah. And the silence during GTA is quite nice. That sort of long, boring trip during
it suits it.
During the cable car ride.
I think maybe. Is there sound of the cable car in that?
Yeah.
There is.
Yeah, there is.
Okay.
I think personally, but correct me if I'm wrong if you feel different, because you are the filmmaker. But I am the advisor, so I guess we both have valid views.
That's why we're both here.
Yeah. I don't think the film would benefit from one long underlying piece of music that plays throughout.
Okay.
I think if we're going to use film score, maybe we would put it in at certain points. So maybe
yeah.
I remember my supervisor was saying maybe this is just an example, but at some point maybe you put the Jaws theme in because it works, so it makes it's quite a statement for something. So we agree that we quite like the Unravel and The Last of Us and then the GTA, that sort of those first three games and scenes, the sound works quite nice. But maybe for Grow Home, there's nothing too vital about Grow Home. The sound of the trees growing isn't that important.
No, not at all.
The music isn't that important. Maybe you want the Jurassic Park theme, you know?
I would love that on every film.
But
I'd say as an idea, it's not bad to flip in different pieces of music.
yeah, but do you see where I'm coming from? Where it's like,
It's
as opposed to one underlying piece of music that plays throughout,
yeah.
maybe we just put different things in different points
I would
that we
say
think works.
because it's a short piece, we'd have to use no more than 3 different pieces of music. Otherwise, it will end up sounding like a sort of demo mix.
Yeah.
Which never sounds good.
No.
You just get about 3 seconds of each bit. But
I mean,
even within that,
you
you know,
spoil it a
even
bit
if
as well, don't you? You sort of overplay it.
yeah, it becomes painful to watch. Really, you get uncomfortable with it. But it's
What?
just let's go.
Oh, bit of fluff.
You wiped your face and then it was on there.
What's to come off this?
But if we end up using one piece of music, we can easily just fade it out now and then,
Yeah.
bring it back in. Like with the GTA one, I like the idea of having it completely silent.
Just the sounds of the nature and the cable car.
I'd get rid of that as well.
Just complete silence.
We'd have to see how it works,
Yeah.
obviously. But
We can have a play about with that.
yeah,
But it's like,
off the top of my head, I would have got rid of all the sound.
But it's like with Skyrim, nothing's really playing apart from the wind and the footsteps. You could put a piece of music under that.
Get some Lord of the Rings in there.
Maybe. But I think it's that sort of idea where it's like, and I'm not saying put it in for the sake of it, but if something presents itself where we're like, oh, do you know what could work here and could actually, and not just for, like I say, not for the sake of it, but actually adds something, adds a new dimension.
Everything has to be there with a purpose.
Adds a new dimension. Maybe the music gives extra meaning to the words that I'm saying, or makes the image on the screen more striking.
Yeah.
So maybe not necessarily Jurassic Park or The Grow Home.
Well, definitely not Jurassic Park.
No.
But
maybe we'll put it in as a little joke just for ourselves and get rid of it. But maybe there's something you could put on underneath that Fallout 4 baby, or over Skyrim, or over the Human Fall Flat, because that's that's
the ending.
Yeah, and as we have said quite often, Human fell flat for us.
Yeah.
We don't really like it. It's in there as a learning curve. It's like, maybe don't be as on the nose. Maybe, be a bit more left field.
If that game was the exact same but designed differently, I think it would work. If it looks a lot more realistic.
Oh, if the graphics were different, if the sort of the art style was different.
Yeah.
Right.
And if just the way he falls was different.
It's quite comical.
Exactly.
Quite ragdoll.
And you can see that he's falling from one platform to the same platform.
Yeah. So maybe it's a case, if we want to make that work, maybe we have to add some music there.
I would say definitely.
Yeah. And it's like, and the type of music, I mean, we're talking about, because you're a filmmaker, we don't really want to put video game music in because it's already got that.
Yeah.
The natural
game music is usually quite basic.
Yeah, the natural sounds it's got there is, a video game music. That's what it's already got. So maybe we want to just put some film scores in there. And I guess that's where your knowledge comes in. So I've got the knowledge of video games. You've got the knowledge of films.
Yeah.
So maybe you look at a certain shot and you think, do you know what? I think it needs a bit of this. And I guess that's the main thing we want to do with this particular mission right now is have a play about with sound and how that might change it.
Yeah, cool.
So that's fine, and then we'll carry on rehearsing it and we'll keep making it better, and then we'll show it off at the end of April.